All right, here we go. We're live. There we go here. All right, shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom out there. This is Brother Doug with the Waking by Yahuwah Assembly. Today, as always, I got my mom, Sister Sharon with me. We got Brother Dennis with us as well. So we are going to be doing our regular Sabbath day readings. I'll be starting us off with the book of Yahusha, Joshua chapter 12. Just bear with me for a second. So what I'll do is I got my ESV here and my Net Septuagint, so I will be try to compare here. And what I'll do as well is for the viewers, let me just put my shared screen up here. And okay. Yahusha chapter 12. Okay, let me see here. This should be on auto rotate. I don't know why it's not. There we go. It's just a lot easier if it's on auto rotate. I can put it on a bigger screen. There we go. Chapter 12. And these, the kings of the land, whom the children of Yasharal killed and inherited their land beyond the Jordan, from the east, from the valley of Arnon to Mount Hermon, and all the land of Arabia on the east. Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon, ruling from Arnon, which is in the valley, on the side of the valley in the half of Gilead, as far as Yabuk, the borders of the children of Ammon, and Araba, as far as the sea of Chenareth eastward.
It's Galilee.
Okay.
I have a footnote.
As far as the sea of Araba, the salt sea eastward, the way to Ashimoth, from Taman under Ashdoth, Pascha, and Og, king of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth, and in Indrain was left of the giants, ruling from Mount Hermon and from Sakai and all the land of Bashan to the borders of Girgashai and Maki and the half of Gilead, of the borders of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Masha, the servant of Yahuwah, and the children of Yashrael struck them, and Masha gave them by way of inheritance to Reuben and Gad and to the half tribe of Manasseh. Now, so I'm not killing my back here. Let me get a chair.
Get a chair.
I don't want to be totally freaking spine, having to bend over. All right, let me see here. Okay. All right, so,
There's 7.
yep, these are the kings. Hold on, coffee. Okay. My upper back's killing me today. These are the kings of the Amorites whom Yahusha and the children of Yashrael killed beyond the Jordan by the east, by the sea of Baal-Gad in the plain of Lebanon and as far as the mountain Chelka. As the men go up to Seir, Yahusha gave it to the tribes of Israel, Yashrael, to inherit according to their portion. In the mountain, in the plain of Araba, Ashdoth, and in the wilderness, and Negeb, the Hittite, Amorite, Canaanite, Perizzite, and Hivite, and Jebusite, the king of Jericho, and the king of Ai, which is near Bethel, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Yeremuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Elam, the king of Gazer, the king of Dabir, king of Geder, the king of Hermoth, the king of Adir, the king of Lebna, the king of Odalam, the king of Elath, the king of Tafut, the king of Ophir, the king of Ophek of Arak, the king of Asam, the king of Simon, the king of Mambroth, the king of Avith, the king of Kadesh, the king of Zakak, the king of Meradoth, the king of Yakum of Carmel, the king of Odalam, to Benad Dor, the king of Gay of Galilee, and the king of Tirzah, all these 29 kings. So those are all the kings that Israel killed of the Canaanite territories. So that is the end of chapter 12. Now we're going into chapter 13. Was there anything really to note before going into 13?
I don't think so.
Not
The
really.
only difference I had was that mine said in all were 31 kings,
Okay.
and you said 29. So
Yeah,
that was the
29.
only difference I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just matter of fact, really, of what they did, what they conquered.
Okay. Hold on a second here. All right. So we'll go to chapter 13, and I'll have you do chapter 13 for us.
Okay. When Yahusha was old and well advanced in years, Yahuwah said to him, "You are very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over. This is the land that remains all the regions of the Philistines and Geshurites from the Sheor River on the east of Egypt to the territory of Ekron on the north. All of it counted as Canaanite, the territory of the 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, that of the Avites. From the south, all the land of the Canaanites from Arak, of Sidonians as far as Aphek, the region of the Amorites, the area of the Gebalites, and the all Lebanon to the east from Baal Gad below Mount Hermon to Lebo Hamat. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions from Lebanon to Misrepot Maim, that is, all the Sidonians, I myself will drive them out before Yashrael. Be sure to allocate this land to Yashrael for an inheritance, as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and half of the tribe of Manasseh. The other half of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites, had received the inheritance that Moshe had given them east of the Jordan, as he, the servant of Yahuwah, had assigned it to them. It extended from Aror on the rim of the Arnon Gorge and from the towns in the middle of the gorge, and included the whole plateau of Medeba as far as Dibon, and all the towns of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, out to the border of the Ammonites. It also included Gilead, the territory of the people of Geshur and Makkah, all of Mount Hernon, and all Bashan as far as Salakah. That is the whole kingdom of Og in Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Adrai, and had survived as one of the last of the Rephaites. Moshe had defeated them and taken over their land. But the children of Israel did not drive out the people of Geshur and Makkah, so they continue to live among the children of Israel to this day. But to the tribe of Levi he gave no inheritance, since the offerings made by fire to Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yashrael, are their inheritance, as he promised them. This is what Moshe had given to the tribe of Reuben, clan by clan. The territory from Aror on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and the whole plateau past Medeba to Heshbon and all its towns on the plateau, including Dibon, Bamat, Baal, Beth, Baal Meon, Yahaz, Kedemot, Maphah, Kiriataim, Sidma, Seret, Shahar on the hill in the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Yeshimot, all the towns on the plateau, and the entire realm of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled at Heshbon. Moshe had defeated him, and the Midianite chiefs, Evi, Rechem, Sor, Hur, and Reba, princes allied with Sihon, who lived in that country. In addition to those slain in battle, the children of Israel had put to the sword Balaam, son of Beor, who practiced divination. The boundary of the Reubenites was the bank of the Jordan. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Reubenites clan by clan. This is what Moshe had given to the tribe of Gad, clan by clan: the territory of Yazer, all the towns of Gilead, and half the Ammonite country as far as Aror near Rabbah, and from Heshbon to Ramat Mitzpah, and Betonim, and from Mahanaim to the territory of Debir, and in the valley Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Sukkot, and Saphon, with the rest of the realm of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the east side of the Jordan, the territory up to the end of the sea, the Sea of Galilee, also known as Kinneret. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Gadites, clan by clan. This is what Moshe has given to the half-tribe of Manasseh, that is, to half the family of the descendants of Manasseh, clan by clan. The territory extending from Mahanaim and including all of Bashan, the entire realm of Og, king of Bashan, all the settlements of Yair in Bashan, 60 towns, half of Gilead and Ashtaroth, and Edrei, the royal cities of Og in Bashan. This was for the descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, for half of the sons of Machir, clan by clan. This is the inheritance Moshe had given when he was in the plains of Moab across the Jordan east of Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moshe has given no inheritance. Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yashrael, is their inheritance, as he promised them. Pretty much, fact by fact, what they received.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what's interesting is this Og of Bashan was basically the only one left of the Rephaim. Mm-hmm. Now, Rephaim is Hebrew for giants. So the reason it's important, it's telling us that as far as the giants are concerned of these Rephaim tribe, he's really the only one left that they killed. I don't know if yours has that in parentheses, but my ESV here has it in parentheses. It says in verse 12, all the kingdom of Og and Bashan who reigned in Ashtaroth and in Edrei, he alone was left of the remnant of the Rephaim.
Yeah, mine says all that, yeah.
Okay, so.
Right.
And it talks about they could not drive out the Geshurites and the Maccathites. So that's also an important fact there. They could not drive these other giants out. Mm-hmm. But Geshur and Maccath dwelled in the midst of Israel to this day. Yeah, that's self-explanatory that the Levites have no inheritance. Now, yours says what in verse 14?
But to the tribe of Levi he gave no inheritance, since the offerings made
Okay.
by fire to Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yashrael, are their inheritance,
Okay.
as he promised them.
Okay. These right here, describe of Reuben. Laura, which is that in the valley to Telon to Medeba, Heshbon, all the cities that are in the tableland, Dibon and Bamoth Baal, and Beth Baal, Maon, Az, Kedemoth, Beth, Oth, Beth Peor.
See the slopes of Pisgah. And it talks about, here's another important thing too, though, is that you have it talking about verse 21. It talks about the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, whom Moshe defeated with the leaders of Midian. Bechem, Zor, Hor, Reba, princes of Sihon, who lived in the land. Balaam even talks about Balaam.
Yes, son of Beor. Yeah.
Sort of.
Because of his divination.
Yeah, it says practice divination. See, the divination would have to be referring to the fact that he got Israel, he seduced Israel into eating food sacrificed to idols. How did he do that? Well, the Midianite women. It says that they went to eat their feast. But you got to understand, though, culture is, what are you doing when you're going to eat their feast? Your feast on what? Food sacrificed to idols. Talks about this in Revelations. So it's important to understand what divination is. Not talking about him doing sorcery when it says divination.
Right.
It's talking about, what we got to understand is divination. The word divination can also mean seduce. How do I know this? Because the word nakash, for what's translated serpent in Genesis 3, if you look at the word nakash, it can mean divine or seduce. So, for example, if a guy seduces a woman to have sex before marriage, that to Yahuwah is divination.
Yeah.
We don't really think of that as divination, but it is. We see it right here, plain and simple. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's an important point to bring up, because people are going to be asking, Doug, how the heck is that divination? He was a real prophet, so how's that divining? Well, you can commit divination sexually. There is a what is it called? There's a connection when you seduce a woman. It's in an unrighteous way that's almost like divining, because you're being what do they call it back in the day? You would be enchanting her. You would be charmer.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, charmer can also mean magic. So there's a little connection there we tend to don't think of. But the pure Reuben. So Reuben, the border of Reuben, they had the Jordan. Tribe of Gad, people of Gad, according to their clans, their territories, Yazer. From Heshbon, territory Debir. Then we got Sihon, king of Heshbon, having Jordan's boundary to the lower end of the sea of Kinnereth, eastward beyond the Jordan. This is the inheritance of the people of Gad, according to their clans, with their villages. Moshe gave an inheritance to the half tribe of Manasseh, and it was allotted to the half tribe of the people of Manasseh, according to their clans. Their region extended from Mahanaim throughout all Bashan, the whole kingdom of Og of Bashan, and all the towns of Yair, which are in Bashan, 60 cities, half Gilead, and Ashtaroth, and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og and Bashan. These were allotted to the people of Machir. So Manasseh, half of the people of Machir according to their classes or inheritance. You okay?
Yeah, fine.
Of Masha distributed in plains of Moab beyond the Jordan east of Jericho, but to the tribe of Levi, Masha gave no inheritance. Yahuwah Alua of Yashrael is their inheritance, just as he said to them. So pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But the important parts really were the places, the geography. This is why people that don't like geography, they're going to think this is boring. But it's not boring. Trust me. There's a lot of important things I just brought out geographically that you might not think of. Like, for example, Hebron. Why is Hebron important? That's where the giants were. Why is Hermon important? Well, if you never read the book of Enoch, Mount Hermon is where the B'nai Elohim came down to make that oath. They said, we're going to sleep with the women. They basically predetermined themselves to sin and sleep with the women at that location. So if your flesh is telling you it's boring, ignore your flesh there, because trust me, there's no part of his word that's boring. It's our flesh telling us it's boring. Right. So we got to guard ourselves against that mentally, because trust me, all these geographic places he's mentioning for a reason. He's not just going to be like, oh, I'm going to make this boring. No, he's mentioning it for a reason. A lot of it has to do with the giants. That's why if you don't understand Genesis 6:4, all of this is going to go over your head. All of this is going to go over your head if you don't know Genesis 6:4.
And these places continue to be important. The first 7 years of David's kingship was in Hebron. So these are places that continue, and the Amorites continue to be a thorn in David's flesh. You know, these were people that he continued to fight against and whatnot. So this, you know, it kind of like travels on and on into the story of the Israelites.
So we're now about to be in chapter 14 of Joshua here. Let's see here. I think we'll get a new reader here. Brother Dennis, would you like to read?
Get ready, Dennis. Yeah.
Well, it's a short chapter. This is it's not too hard of a reading. I don't see many hard names here.
Oh, let's see.
All right.
Chapter 15?
14.
14, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
All right. Now, these children of Yisrael inherited in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest, and the son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Yisrael caused them to inherit. Their inheritance was by lot, as Yahweh had commanded by the hand of Moshe, for the 9 tribes and the half tribe. For Moshe had given the inheritance of the 2 tribes and the half tribe beyond the Jordan, but to the Levites he gave no inheritance in their midst. For the children of Joseph had become 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim, and they gave no part to the Levites in the land, except cities to dwell in, and their open land for their livestock and their possessions. As Yahweh had commanded Moshe, so the children of Yisrael did, and they divided the land. And the children of Yehudah came to Yahusha in Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, said to him, you know the word which Yahweh said to Moshe, the man of Elohim, concerning you and me in Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moshe, the servant of Yahuwah, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought back word to him as it was in my heart. But my brothers who went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I followed Yahuwah, my Elohim, completely. So Moshe swore on that day, saying, the land on which your foot has trodden is your inheritance, and your children's forever, because you have followed Yahuwah, my Elohim, completely. And now see, Yahuwah has kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years since Yahuwah spoke this word to Moshe, while Yisrael walked in the wilderness. And now, see, I am 85 years old today. Yet I am still as strong today as I was on the day that Moshe sent me. As my strength was then, so my strength is now, for battle and for going out and for coming in. And now give me this mountain of which Yahuwah spoke in that day. For you heard in that day how the Anakim were there, and that the cities were great and walled. If Yahuwah is with me, then I shall dispossess them, as Yahuwah said. Yahusha then blessed him, brought him, and gave Hebron to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, as an inheritance. So Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Quiznite, to this day, because he followed Yahuwah Elohim of Yisrael completely. Now the name of Hebron was formerly Kiriath Arba. Arba was the greatest man among the Anakim, and the land had rest from fighting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Anakim.
The giants.
Yep. So, let's see here. So it seems like the allotments are being continued here. Okay, so Joseph, Manasseh, Ephraim, Kadesh, Barnea, which interesting. That's another important thing about some of these geographical places. Some of these names have importance behind them. Kadesh is kind of like the Paleo-Hebrew pronunciation of that would be, I think, the same word as what we know to be set apart in English. Kadesh Barnea technically would be Kadash Barnea, so you have the word set apart in that geographical location. And it seems like there's specific type of Canaanites are being mentioned in verse 13. Yeah, according to my ESV here, it has in parentheses, Arba was the greatest among the Anakim. I don't exactly agree with the term man there, but I understand what he's trying to say is he's one of the greatest, I guess, heroes of the Anakim. And the Anakim basically came from the original giants. You could find that in Numbers 13. And people always ask me, how did the hybrid giants survive the flood? Well, you have to understand their genetics didn't die with the flood. We see that in Numbers 13. It says the Anakim came from the giants, meaning they were begotten by giants.
Right.
And the same thing with this Arba guy. According to the ESV in verse 15 of here, it says he was the greatest among the Anakim. So it seems like this particular giant was a pretty strong warrior is what it's trying to say. Where we get these fanciful legends like Hercules and all these so-called heroes of Greek mythology. Well, hero worship went back to Genesis 6:4. That's what you have to understand. These sons of the Watchers of the B'nai Elohim were heroes to the heathen. The heathen worshiped them as their superheroes, as their heroes. So the first ever superhero in history, people don't realize this, goes back to the Epic of Gilgamesh. Who was Gilgamesh? Well, all you got to do is read Genesis 10. Okay, Gilgamesh is the biblical Nimrod. So Nimrod, historically, pagan history even, he was the first quote-unquote hero. Okay. So that shows you where hero worship and superhero worship goes back to. A lot of the superheroes that we know of today either represent the giants or their fathers. It's one or the other. Either, and just to explain, give you guys, viewers and listeners that might not know about this, a little bit of pagan history here, okay? Doesn't matter what pantheon you look at, whether you're talking about the Olympians, whether you're talking about the Roman pantheon, Egyptian pantheon, all these pagan pantheons are talking about messengers as their gods, okay? This is a well-known fact that all ancient cultures worshipped these fallen angels, except for Israel. Israel was the only nation that didn't. And we can go to Deuteronomy. I'll show you why in Deuteronomy 32, why that's the case. But pagan history will show you every other pantheon that was polytheistic, not monotheistic, but the polytheistic pantheons were all run by fallen angels. Each of one of their gods is a fallen angel. So you had Poseidon, Zeus, Hades, all these characters represented the Watchers. They also had gods in their pantheon that represented the giants, the Titans. Okay. Titans were, according to Josephus, even, he said that basically the Greeks coined the giants as the Titans. So the biblical giants are the Titans of Greek mythology. So even Josephus, not my words, his words said that. So what you got to understand is mythology is not really mythology. Mythology is a upside down view of the scriptures. So whatever Greek mythology says, the reverse of that is actually the truth. So when you understand that, it makes sense why their religions promote what they promote. Okay, why the hybrids are the good guys in their religion, and why they always promote like minotaurs, satyrs as good when they're actually evil. Okay, why they promote centaurs as good when they're really evil. So one could even make the argument that Apollyon or Apollo, his army is a bunch of centaurs. When you really look at what Revelations 9 is talking about, when it talks about the locust army, you can technically you can make the case it's either talking about centaurs or a sphinx, because in the Egyptian lore, the sphinx was not just a lion; it was part lion, part man. Mm-hmm. So it's important to understand that too. A sphinx is not just a regular lion; it's a hybrid. But
L.A. Marzulli brought a lot of that out when he went over to Greece and asked them about the mythology. And they kind of turned white, said, that's a part of our history.
Yeah. Yeah, the Greeks out there don't consider it mythology. We're the only ones that consider it mythology because our country is trying to shove it down people's throats and trying to get people to accept it and to almost idolize over it. And that's why so many Greek mythology movies have been made. It's to desensitize us, to make us think, oh, that's cool. When actually you're idolizing fallen angels and you're idolizing giants is really what you're doing. You know, Zeus, if you look in the first century, right, Zeus was identified with Satan. And the reason I know that is because if you look at where it talks about the seat of Satan, today that's called the throne of Zeus at Pergamum. So when you look at when John was writing Revelations, he's trying to give us a hint. Like at some point in time, Satan used Zeus as an alias and got worshipped through Zeus. And that's why I believe once Yahusha started talking about, I saw him fall as lightning, Satan took that and ran with it. He's like, okay, so, well, I got these pantheons out there. They worship these gods of thunder and lightning. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if I take them, I can get people to worship me through them. Mm-hmm. That's what you don't realize. A lot of these Nordic mythologies, even with Thor's what? The god of thunder. Okay, Why does that important? Because scripture says Satan fell as from heaven like lightning. He looked like lightning when he fell. So Satan can be using these different pantheons to get worship through these characters. Now, am I saying Satan was originally all these different characters? No. Probably Thor was another messenger that fell. But now Satan is using these characters and these pantheons to get worship through them, just like he used Nimrod to get worship through him, just like he used Semiramis to get worship through her, which eventually her spirit has been running this mystery Babylon religion. I believe that when you talk about, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, that spirit is the spirit of Semiramis. And every mystery Babylon type of religion, she's been behind. Her spirit, her demonic spirit has been behind every iteration of the mystery Babylon religion and all that. So that's why this is important. When we start reading about the giants here, we start reading about this, reading about that, reading about Mount Hermon, like we saw a couple chapters earlier. This is the historical context you have to understand. So it's important to understand that. So when you see it says, have no other mighty ones before me in Exodus 20, Yahuwah is not talking about beings that don't exist, okay? A lot of people have a misunderstanding about that, okay? The mighty ones of the nations are real. Yes, they have inanimate objects that are fake. That's what Yahuwah means by devils that don't exist. He's talking about the image of that mighty one. He's not saying that the other mighty ones don't exist, because then Yahuwah would be contradicting himself. Okay. So when he says have no other mighty ones before me, he's telling them that because there is other mighty ones. There are lesser mighty ones. And if that's something new to you guys, I would recommend you check out the study we did called Who Are the Judges and Rulers of Psalms 82, Divine Council study we did, because that dives into that whole topic. So we don't have time to go through that and rehash that. But just suffice to say, the idea that the mighty ones of the nations are just inanimate objects is ridiculous. Okay. The pagans are not that stupid. Okay. They know they're just images. Obviously, they were making images of real beings that they used to worship before the flood. So this is why you have to understand what the days of Noah were, what the days of Jared were, okay? Basically, the theory here that I'm going to put forth to expound and help you guys understand this in context, in the biblical narrative of this, okay? The days of Jared, the Watchers came down, right? So the first incursion, days of Jared, not the days of Noah yet, okay? Second incursion, days of Noah. Around that gap of time, the Watchers would have had enough time to establish a false pagan religion. This theory is also known as the Satanic Atlantean Empire, if you ever heard of that. Okay, it's the theory that the lost city of Atlantis, or the empire of Atlantis, was established by these fallen messengers. Okay, they wanted mankind to worship them. Okay, so that's basically what happened. Eventually, they enslaved mankind. They got mankind to worship them. Well, what happens when Yahuwah puts them in Tartarus? How is mankind going to worship them now? They're not going to be able to worship them. So they make idols to worship those real beings. So basically what I'm trying to say is, you guys can look this up for yourselves. You don't have to believe me about this. But in pagan history, in their culture, there was this concept of the idol was a medium to the actual deity, okay? And there's other people that would agree with me, like Jim Staley, okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not making up this stuff, okay? In pagan culture, this is how it went. This is why in Egypt, what's the first thing Israel does? Oh, well, we don't see Yahuwah. Yahuwah had no form. We can't see him. We can't talk to him directly. We need a medium. So what do? They make a golden calf.
Right.
So that's what we need to understand about pagan culture. And so, yes, the idols are real. They don't hear, they don't see, they're fake. Yes, the idol is, the image of that being is. but the being itself is real. So there are fallen beings that preside over nations known as principalities that nations worship. Okay. There's even interesting commentary in the Targums on certain passages of scripture, like Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. In one of the Targums, it would paraphrase it as, I don't know this Yahuwah who you refer to. He's not in the book of the angels. So even the rabbis, okay, understood this concept. They understood that these nations worshiped angels, okay? They worshiped real beings, okay? Basically, and like I said, for you to understand this, you have to understand the divine council concept, that there's a council up in heaven where Yahuwah is the Alua of the Elohim, meaning he is the mighty one of mighty ones, and that there's lesser mighty ones under him, the angels, okay? And he even gave the messengers, according to Deuteronomy 32:8, he gave the messengers as principalities over these nations that rebelled at the Tower of Babel. So he gave these nations into a reprobate mind to worship messengers. And I'm just going to show you guys what I'm talking about here to prove my point. Okay, but this, I know we're not taught this in Christianity. Christianity tells us that the mighty ones of the nations are just images. That's not true, technically. They're misunderstanding the difference between an image and the being that's being worshipped by using an image. Okay, so there is a distinction there. Okay, Deuteronomy 32:8 in the Septuagint says, when the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, or you could say the sons of Noah, okay, because it was in Noah's time period, he set the boundaries of the nations according to the number of the angels of Elohim. So what is it saying here? The boundaries of the nations, the countries. He set the countries according to the number of his messengers. Now, the historical context of this would be post Tower of Babel. You have 70 to 72 countries, right? So you put 72 messengers, principalities, over 72 countries. So each country had a principality. Mm-hmm. And we see this. We see this in scripture. Prince of Persia, okay? It's a very easy concept to understand. But because we're taught, oh, well, the mighty ones of the nations are just wood and stone, that's the half truth. That's not, we're not being taught the whole truth there. Yeah. Because if it's just images that are the mighty ones, then why do we have talks of principalities? Why do we have talks of this? Why do we have talks of that? So it's important to understand this concept because we're reading about stuff that pertains to that. So anyway, so hopefully you guys have a better understanding after I kind of expounded that there. But anyway, so that's mainly what I wanted to talk about here because there's a lot about that. We talked about Arba, how it's listed. He was the greatest of the Anakim, supposedly. What that could be referring to. So anyway, a lot of this stuff is just self-explanatory stuff. So do
you want me to read the next?
No, we're only doing 3 chapters.
Oh, okay, 3 chapters. Okay.
Yeah, we're only doing 12 to 14.
Okay.
So I was just giving a little bit less expounding there. Mm-hmm. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the study today. Hopefully you guys get something out of it. Please stay tuned, everyone. Yahuwah willing, we will be back next week with Yahusha 15 to 18. So to our brothers and sisters out there, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us. And Yahuwah willing, we'll see you next time.